Can I talk to someone who knows things? Like a man. This popped into my mind recently. I used to work at a retail tropical fish store, and weird as it is, we were very well known. We used to provide the aquarium with rare fish, and people used to drive from 2 to 3 states over if they were true fish people to come buy from us. I, at the time 17 female, was an expert in tropical fish and koi. In fact, it was my job that summer to be the koi and outdoor pond point person, and my job was not only stocking the ponds, but managing all the plants, caring for them, and knowing every bit of information and all the prices of the various koi and goldfish we had. I knew diets, temperature ranges, places of origin, special breeds, I knew it all. They even would call me with questions on my days off. That clearly did not matter to one customer though. He came inside the store and asked for some help with koi outside. I happily agreed as I was the only person not on my lunch break. Now this guy frankly seemed put off by me offering to help, so instead of buying anything, he decided to quiz me for 20 minutes about the koi, goldfish, and pond plants to try to get me to admit I didn't know something. I answered every single one of his stupid questions, some really were stupid, and at the end of the 20 minutes he had the balls to say, "Can I talk to someone who knows things? Like a man." Full emphasis in tone on those words too. "Sure you can," I say with a fake smile. "Let me get John for ya." Here's the malicious compliance. John, name changed, was 75, retired, annoying as hell and batshit crazy. My boss didn't even want him to be hired, but he owed John a favor. Now John is an expert in goldfish, but he hates koi and outside ponds. John also, like I said, is really annoying and crazy, but he had a soft spot for me, so we always would chat. I went inside to find John, and explained to him that this customer wanted a man to talk to. John asked me why he wanted to speak to a man when I was the pond point person, and I told him that he clearly just didn't like that he was speaking to a girl. John nods knowingly, gets this evil grin on his face, and goes to help the customer. 5 minutes later I hear a man yelling in the parking lot. I run outside and find the customer screaming at John and cursing him out. "What is wrong with you? Does nobody ducking know anything around here? I will never come back. You're all horrible and know nothing about fish, and you're a terrible employee." Or something to that effect. I watch the guy hop into his car, slam the door, drive off. I ask John what happened. He said, "Oh yeah, no, every time he asked me a question I said not sure." Good question though. I could go get OP and ask, she's really our pond expert, and apparently he did not like that. Customer, if you read and remember this, duck you. Now to the comments. Annoyingness notwithstanding, John is a good friend. He's the kind of people you keep around. OP replied. He was. He used to bring me in mini pies every day after finding out that I liked them. He's now retired in Florida, but I think about how much we messed with customers together who are rude us often. Every job has a John, and if you befriend them, they will really take care of you. At my last job, before the pandemic, it was a little old lady from Hong Kong. She would bring me bao all the time. She sends me cards to let me know she's staying healthy since she doesn't talk well on the phone. This is the best. I love this so much. But also, I'm so sorry that man was incredibly rude to you and doubted your ability and knowledge about fish just because you're a girl. But this is hilarious. What bothers me the most is that, after the customer got proof that OP knew her shit, even when the man clearly indicated that he in fact didn't know anything about koi and that OP was very knowledgeable, they simply refused to accept that and instead got even more hostile. OP replied. It still bothers me too, like that he had to get mad instead of accepting he was wrong. My favorite thing though is that the next closest tropical fish store that wasn't a general pet store was 45 minutes away, and he was local, so at least I know that he had to drive semi-far to get what he wanted. That store was also staffed by very rude men only, and they were all super horrible people. I had to bring a shipment over to them once because some natural disaster happened and they lost some stock, and they were just so rude about us doing a favor for them. When I was 21, I had a summer job driving a bus around Banff for a group of hotels. It was free for the guests staying at any of our 5 hotels in Banff. I had my Class 4 license, which is required to drive those 24-passenger shuttle buses. I looked like a young fun-loving guy, because I was. I pulled up to a group of people that were flagging me down. This happens when guests see me, but they aren't at a stop. No worries, I pull over. I open the door and Karen looks right at me with that open mouth gasp that is so signature of Karen's. Well, you are most certainly not old enough to be driving this bus. We kinda just stared at each other through the open door. I didn't know what to say. Someone else pushed past her and said looks fine to me and sat down. She stood there in the door and pulled out her phone. I'm calling the hotel to be sure that you should be driving. All the other guests on the bus sigh. She wasn't finished finding the phone number when someone on the sidewalk outside said, "Wow, look, an eagle." She stepped off the bus for a second to get a look. I closed the door and left her there. Next bus is in an hour. Don't know if there was even an eagle. Never heard anything about it. OP replied. OMG, this is one of the best Karen stories with the happiest outcomes ever. Go you. I am so proud. Honestly, I was shitting my pants. Everyone wanted that job, and I was afraid I was gonna lose it. I work in a paint department at a hardware store. If somebody is staining their deck, they want to talk to a man, and if they're picking out colors they always want me. I didn't know a store could be so sexist. You see, men's eyes are bad so they can only distinguish color on wood grain, and women's eyes are bad so they can only distinguish color on drywall. Sarcasm. Cones and rods, man. Cones and rods. It's crazy how often this would happen with female employees at my old job. Customers are just giant dicks, and as soon as I, male, turn the corner they instantly become compliant. It always pissed me off whenever I would see it. I remember reading a post year ago about how a boss was accidentally using one of his female co-workers' emails under her name instead of his, and his job instantly became being talked back to and doubted. He was thoroughly confused until he noticed he wasn't on his email. After switching back over, all the bad behavior from customers stopped, just because there was a man's name on the email. The average consumer is scum. Edit. Maybe I'm not thinking about a Reddit post. Does anyone remember to the second half of my post that I am referring to? I'm trying to find it now. OP replied. Yes. I read that one too. I have always wondered, because I have an androgynous nickname, how many job interviews I showed up to that were expecting a man instead, and if that's why I didn't get the job. Something similar happened to me, but it was 2 women who didn't want to talk to me about their pond plants. They wouldn't even tell me what their problem was, and said they wanted to talk to the guy that worked there. I explained that he's just gone to lunch, and again asked what I could help them with. They said they'd wait for him. No skin off my butt. I had a lot of stuff to do. So, the next 45 minutes consisted of me moving and working all around the 2 women standing in the middle of the fish/pond area while I basically pretended they weren't there. My male coworker returns, and he was irritated with me for not helping them. I shrug and say they only wanted to talk to you. TBH, I assumed he had helped them before, it otherwise had some sort of history. Apparently not. He asked what he could help them with, and they started explaining their situation and asking their questions. Every question they had, he'd say I'm not sure, and then he'd turn and ask me their question word for word. I'd answer my male coworker, looking him in the eye, and ignoring the women. They were pissed. They didn't go into Karen mode, but they did that thing middle-aged women do when they fidget, look around at nothing, and get all splotchy on their necks. OP replied. Oh God. We had a lot of this. People with demand to talk to the owner, a man, after I asked if I could help them like 4 or 5 times, and I would say okay, you can wait there and he'll be with you, and then 99% of the time he be like, oh hey OP, come help this customer, I am going to do XYZ instead. I had a female boss in a very male-dominated field, so, they would talk to her but would always ask for the man above her, maybe not say man but implied it. When they did, she would just say hold on. Steve, so and so wants blank, can't do that, have them do X, Y, Z. Guy would be stammering, oh wait, no, I didn't want to do all that, etc. Never saw her lose an argument or not get what she wanted. What was hilarious was nowhere on the website was there a Steve, she was as high as it went in any place you looked, they were too stupid to look. OP replied. I love that so much.